Hey guys, welcome back to Paper Made Me Do It. This video is going to be another double spread of journaling in my Hobonichi Cousin Avec. I'm doing the voiceover almost 2 weeks after the actual journaling, so you'll see that quite a bit has changed in the last 2 weeks. I started out as usual with the days of each spread, and I kind of find that I get in, I hate to call it a rut, but I tend to, once I start something that I like, just do that same thing over and over and over. So for a while I was using the Sharpie brush pens to write my days of the week, and then I switched to excuse me, some of the highlighter brush pens and then outlining them. On this particular spread, I decided to use a water brush for watercolor lettering. I had done that for a good while, several months ago, and just kind of gotten away from it. So I'm enjoying being back in my watercolor palettes again here recently. So I went in on the left side of the spread with a Uni Jetstream ballpoint pen in 0.7. and drew the weather for that day, the low and high temp, and just a little doodle. It was partly cloudy that day. And then went in with a little section of journaling. The 8th was a Sunday, and we had all started our day at church that day. This was obviously before public gatherings had been limited in number. So this was actually our last time to physically attend church. We ended up staying home the following weekend and just watching the sermon on live stream because of all of the regulations that have been put in place in my state for social distancing. So I skipped over to Monday and basically did the same thing, put in the low and high temp and a little doodle of the weather, and did a small section about journaling. I had started that morning by taking my boys to school because, again, this was prior to school closures that ended up occurring about a week later. So I'm going back in with my water brush, and instead of using a watercolor palette, what I'm doing here is going in with the Derwent Inktense pencils, and this just shows another way that they can be used instead of using them on directly onto the paper first like a colored pencil and then activating the ink. You can also just take a wet water brush or regular brush and just kind of run it across the end of the pencils to activate the ink and then treat it like regular watercolor. So I went in on Monday, March the 9th, and made a comment about the coronavirus because this was the first day that a case was confirmed in my state. So on March the 9th, we had our first confirmed case in Jefferson Parish in South Louisiana. I live in the northwest part of Louisiana. And if you've followed the news at all, if you're in the U.S., you may know that it's spreading like wildfire in Louisiana. So we are trying to do our part in social distancing as much as possible and just upping our game with sanitizing and the likes. So I went back to the left side of this spread and decided to do a doodle or a sketch from the Hobonichi challenge of that day. And the prompt for March the 8th was the Zanzibar leopard. So I went in to Google Images and searched and printed a picture of this beautiful leopard to use for an example. And I'm just going in with that same Uni Jetstream ballpoint pen to do the initial sketch and outline. One thing that I did different, this may have been the first day I did it, but I've been doing it every day since, is instead of just writing the name of the prompt, I started going to Google and just finding some basic information, just a kind of a quick blurb, sentence or two about the animal, and journaling that out beside the sketch. So the Zanzibar leopard, it talks about how that population was in Tanzania, and it says by 2002 it was considered extinct due to persecution by local hunters. So that's sad because it looks like a beautiful animal. So after the sketch was completed, I decided to go in with the Derwent Inktense pencils again for this spread. The thing that I like most about the Inktense pencils is that once the project is activated with water and completely dried, it is then waterproof. So I like doing that now that I'm doing more of these sketches. That way I don't have to worry if I do wet media on 2 pages. I don't have to worry about the water or the moisture seeping through and blurring or distorting the image on the opposite page with it being waterproof. So this leopard was had a beautiful coat of a couple different shades of like golden brown, so I didn't use a whole lot of different colors on this sketch. He looks like he was kind of laying down on a log, so I just used a black to make the log look kind of gray. And then for the body of the animal, I just used a couple different shades of brown and maybe kind of a mustard yellow. And I think the only other color I used was a red, just to make the tip of the nose look kind of pink-like. So after that sketch, I'm kind of skipping around here. After church that Sunday, we went into town and had dinner together, and then, or lunch rather, and then after that we went grocery shopping that day at Target. So I'm just using the tip of that red Derwent Inktense pencil with a water brush to do a little blurb about grocery shopping at Target. And I think this is the stage where I actually started going in and activating all of that Inktense pencil work with the water brush. And I've mentioned this in a previous video. It really requires very little water to activate these pencils. So when I'm using the water brush, not only am I not really squeezing it, I'm just using the bristles kind of, moistened. After a couple strokes, I'm also kind of dabbing it off on a paper towel, because it actually works better if you use less water, if you don't want the colors to do a whole lot of spreading from where you initially lay them down. I'm really enjoying sketching out these animals. I find them to be much easier to do than people. That's probably the one thing that I rarely or never do, is try to draw or sketch people, because that's a whole different ball game for me. I find it easier to stick to landscape and just inanimate objects in general, but I have been enjoying kind of stretching myself lately and doing some of these animals. So I'm just going in with a water brush here and another Derwent Inktense pencil and just doing kind of a light background of color. That blue is such a pretty color for a background. I had used it on a previous video behind a bird. And it turned out really pretty. So I decided to go in with that same blue. And then at the bottom of that page, I laid down a couple strips of washi tape. The really pretty one on the very bottom is a William Morris pattern. It's like almost like a floral. And then the second one on top is a little strip of what looks like wood grain. So I thought that kind of tied into the leopard lying down on a log. And so after that was completed, I moved back to the right side of the spread, and I'm filling that bottom half of the page with another sketch from the Hobonichi challenge. So on the 9th, the prompt was for another bird, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's P-O''OULI, and I have no idea how to pronounce that name. But another name for that bird, or a common name anyway, is the black-faced Honeycreeper. And so I did the same thing and just did a little information in a little journaling blurb on the right side. And it says that the black-faced Honeycreeper is a species of passerine bird endemic to the island of Maui in Hawaii. Only 2 known birds remained in 2004, and in a 2018 study, it was recommended to be declared extinct. And it's a pretty little bird, and similar to the leopard in this spread, it's mainly composed of just brown and gold tones. So I did the outline with that Uni Jetstream ballpoint pen first, and then just went in with the same Derwent Inktense pencils. And when I'm doing the pictures or sketches like this, I like to go directly onto the paper instead of going from the water brush to the tip of the pencil like I did with the lettering above. And the reason for that is that these pencils work really well with layering. So if you just use them like a regular color pencil first directly on the paper, you can go on top of each other with different colors for shading and layering, and then it's just easier, you know, when you activate to have it look nice without having to go in several times with the water brush on different layers. Now those stickers I included were from a previous Sticky Club subscription. There's some really pretty like honeybees, and there's some gold foiling on them. And I also laid down a couple strips of washi tape on the bottom of that right side of the page. But that is it, I believe, for this spread. I'm going to try to make more of these videos since so many of us are home now from social distancing. So I hope you enjoyed it, and check back for more in the future. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.